Well, PlayStation's live service initiative is the flaming wreck that keeps on exploding. So, I've talked about Fairgames a lot on this channel, so I'll try not to repeat things I've already said, but the reason I'm talking about it yet again today is because we finally got our first big update about the game in almost 2 years since it was revealed back in 2023. And it's the news that the studio founder has left. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from Bloomberg's article where they announced this news, and it's written by the ever-reliable Jason Schreier. So the article is titled, PlayStation executive Jade Raymond leaves studio she founded. So the article starts with, Jade Raymond, the founder and head of Sony Group Corp's game developer Haven Studios, has left the company. PlayStation leadership didn't give Haven staff a reason for her departure, but it came several weeks after an external test of Haven's first game, the online shooter Fairgames, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Some developers at Haven were concerned about how the game was received and its progress, said the people, who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to speak publicly. Quote from a PlayStation spokesperson, Jade Raymond has been an incredible partner and visionary force in founding Haven Studios. We are deeply grateful for her leadership and contributions, and we wish her all the best in her next chapter. Now, if you don't know who Jade Raymond is, this is a producer who for a long time used to work at Ubisoft. She was one of the big people who spearheaded Assassin's Creed when that first came out. So because of how popular that franchise is, a lot of people in the industry kind of saw her as this big-brained producer who is like brilliant and is so good at making ideas. Unfortunately, she has not really done anything of note within the last decade or so, since Far Cry 4. After being a managing director on Far Cry 4, she then left Ubisoft to go work for EA, to help EA Motive with their Star Wars game, which was the single-player portion of Star Wars Battlefront 2. And then she left EA in order to go to Google to help found Stadia Games, if you guys remember that. But we all know what happened with Stadia, so that was fucked, and she left there. And that's when she founded Haven Studios, who got some investment from Sony Interactive Entertainment back in 2021. And then about a year later, Sony acquired the studio. Then they announced Fairgames, and now Jade Raymond is leaving. So Jade Raymond for the last 10 years does not really have a good track record when it comes to seeing a project through to its completion. Let's be generous and call it that. And this was going to be the first time that she would be out on her own. You know, she calls the shots with her studio. And now she's leaving it. So that to me says a lot. The article continues with, the spokesperson added that the company is, quote, committed to supporting Haven Studios and excited to continue the project, with new co-studio heads Marie-Eve Duny and Pierre-Francois Sapinski. So this is pretty bad. And I would personally love to hear from anyone who participated in this test, who saw what the game was like, who talked with Haven, who talked with Sony about the feedback that they had gotten from it. But I guess Raymond piecing out from her own studio tells me everything I need to know. Now, I mentioned in the last video regarding Team LFG that I wanted to not be a snarky asshole when talking about them. But for obvious reasons, I will not be applying that same grace to Fairgames and Haven, because any idiot with half a brain can look at Fairgames and see that it will be a colossal failure for PlayStation. I find it very funny that the tagline of the game is "take their money," because I can think of one person who definitely took some money when fleecing PlayStation with this project, and that person's name is Jade Raymond, because whoo boy, did she take PlayStation's money. Man, that list of wealthy people to rob that's in the trailer, I think we need to add another name to that list. You know, Jade Raymond, I think she needs to be at like the #1 spot on that list for the hoop earring wearing robbers to take all her shit, because that lady probably made more money from this botched project than I will see in a lifetime. You talk about eating the rich? I mean, yeah, eat the rich, am I right? I have this funny scenario of Jade Raymond in my head where it's almost like she made a bet with herself where she went, what's the worst possible pitch I can make to PlayStation and have them believe that I've got like some good shit and get money from these suckers? So it's like she organized a meeting with Jimmy Boy and Herman Hulst, and then when Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst walked into the boardroom, it was like they encountered Jade Raymond wearing like a jersey and a do-rag and a fucking chain around her neck, and she's going like, yo dog, do I have like the hip new live service for y'all? Like, I've been really hitting the streets and figuring out what the youths want from a video game, man. You know, I know what's cool, dude. How about we make a game where, you know, these young kids, you know, they don't like being down. They don't want to work at McDonald's. They want the rich lifestyle, but they don't know how to get it, yo. So how about we have these young kids, you know, rob these people of their money, man. And then to make it more exciting, we gotta have them shoot at rival gangs, dude. That's so cool. That's so fucking cool. Yeah, eat the rich, my gamers, yeah. You know, I think what would be even cooler with this game, you know, I come up with this cool name. It's called Fairgames, yo. Like, that's such a transgressive title, my dudes. You know, and we gotta have a $sign at the end instead of an S. My guy, yeah, my boy Jim Ryan, he knows what's up with that $sign in the title, man. You know, and I've even thought of the cool song that we're gonna use for the trailer. You know, I'm thinking of this young, hip, inclusive game where we have, you know, eating the rich and whatnot. We're gonna have a song from this rap duo, you know, Young and Hip, where they're talking about flexing and fucking having shoes and shit. It's all hip, yeah, man. Yeah, Herman Hulst, I know he's had this fucking song on his Spotify for months. It's the hip new song, dude. But, you know, they unfortunately, they do have a bit in the song where they mention fucking bitches and making a sex tape because the bitch that he's about to fuck is horny, dog. But we can't have that in the trailer, you know, because it's a little bit too edgy for what we're going. You know, it's not very inclusive to talk about fucking bitches and making a sex tape out of their horny asses. Yeah, we just can't have that. It's a little too edgy for our game. Also, the song, you know, it has a racial epitaph that I don't think is gonna be really cool with the people on Twitter. You know, I think we should just have a very clean cut of the song. It just doesn't have any foul language, doesn't have any racial epitaphs in it. And it's like Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst saw this humiliating, dumb ritual from Jade Raymond, and Jim Ryan thought, I'm hip, I'm cool, I know what the kids want, man. And then you have Herman Hulst sitting there with his boring ass going, yes, I think I know what the youths want as well. They want this trendy live service where they can play with their friends, and I very much enjoy this. So, you know, Jade Raymond gave them like do-rags, you know, they signed the contract. All of them walked out of the studio with their do-rags on and like, yeah, we're about to make the hot new shit called Fairgames, dog. Talk about get money. Jim Ryan putting on a fucking chain with a $sign on it. Yeah, Jim Ryan, my boy Jim Ryan, he knows what the fuck is up. Gotta make them buy battle passes so they can eat the rich. Buy the AI-generated monkey mask so they're taking it to these billionaires out there. Yeah, Jeff Bezos ain't got fucking shit on our AI-generated monkey mask. Obviously, we all know what needs to happen, but I'll be that asshole and say it. This studio needs to be shut down. This game needs to be canceled. Studio needs to be shut down. Get rid of it. Like, we don't need any more money poured into this thing. PlayStation needs to learn what the sunk cost fallacy is really fucking fast and get rid of this fucking thing. This is, look, I know there are a lot of people online that compare a lot of games now that are being announced and going, this is Concord 2.0, telling their subscribers, telling their fan base. They're pointing to every game that even looks mildly like and they go, yeah, it's Concord 2.0. Marathon, Concord 2.0. I'm being totally sincere when I say this really does look like Concord 2.0. It won't probably fail as bad as Concord did, but I think it'll come pretty fucking close if this is if the trends are anything to believe. I mean, you can see this thing bombing a million fucking miles away. It's like seeing a train on fire way off in the distance headed towards the station. You don't need to be anywhere near the train to know that it's on fire. You can see the big flames coming up from the side of a mountain and the giant smoke caking the sky. You can kind of point to the people at the station going, hey, that train that's on the tracks headed towards here, that thing is on fire and it's gonna blaze through the station and cause a massive wreck. And so far, it's like the station master doesn't want to do anything about it. What else is there to say at this point? I'm just waiting at this point for the announcement that Fairgames has been canceled and Haven has been shut down. And it's obvious that PlayStation is trying to salvage this and be more selective with what they pursue. But I will maintain the opinion, despite so many people coming out of the woodwork, looking at PlayStation's recent financials and going, oh, see, this is why PlayStation needs a new live service, because they make a shitload of money from add-ons at the PlayStation Store. I will maintain the opinion that very few good things will come from this, as long as the same people are involved with it, like Hermen Hulst. That dude does not have the talent, taste, or vision to realize this live service pursuit in any way that will yield good results. I don't care what Jade Raymond told him. I don't care how many do-rags that fucking guy puts on. That man does not have the eye for live service. I don't believe it. Jim Ryan didn't have the eye. Hermen Hulst definitely does not have the eye for it. I don't want anyone involved in this initiative who had a hand in things like buying Bungie, investing in and eventually buying Haven, buying Firewalk and releasing Concord, buying and then killing Neon Koi, greenlighting God of War live service and Bluepoint, encouraging Ben Studio and London Studio to make live service games that go nowhere. Do I need to keep going? I can keep going with this. How many screw-ups there have been in this whole thing? Jade Raymond is obviously much smarter than Jim Ryan or Hermen Hulst. She knows which way the wind is blowing. She peaced out. She saw the ship about to crash into the iceberg and just jumped overboard. Went, yep, see y'all later. Have fun drowning in the ocean. This thing just needs to be put out of its misery. It's suffered enough. PlayStation fans have suffered enough watching PlayStation funnel money away from projects that would have been a lot more appealing and probably made a lot more money, and putting it into this fucking thing. This eat the rich simulator. Good luck to Jade Raymond, whatever she does next. I have no respect for her at all as a project manager, as a leader, but I gotta respect the grift that she pulled on PlayStation. She must have like kind of whispered some tips to Bungie on how to grift PlayStation out of millions of dollars. Billions in the case of Bungie. Fucking rolling around with Pete Parsons in one of his vintage cars, whispering ideas in his ear like, yo, dog, I just got $200 million and an acquisition deal from PlayStation. If you follow these tips, you can fleece PlayStation out of even more money, because they're run by bozos right now. Anywho, good luck to Jade Raymond. Have fun at your next failure of an endeavor. And as for PlayStation, just wake the fuck up, guys. Cancel Fairgames, shut down Haven. It'll save you a headache in the long run. Go Google what the sunk cost fallacy is. It might blow your fucking mind.